You ever think about why alcohol is everywhere? It's freaking everywhere. And it's a pretty cool thing to do. All the teenage, not all, but all the cool kids at the school, they wanna drink, they wanna smoke. So clearly, it's kind of the cool thing in collective consciousness, and it's freaking everywhere. Like it should be, but all the things should be everywhere. But it shouldn't be cool. You ever wonder why these psychedelics suddenly everybody's microdosing? Suddenly it's the hip thing to do. Take a little LSD, a little Molly. Weed is the coolest thing ever. Smoking some ganja. Mushrooms. Fucking every rich kid wants to do DMT. Like suddenly all these things are the cool thing. They're the hip thing in collective consciousness. And they kinda did it sneakily. Like it was when it became like kinda like 15 years ago. Obviously the movement was there even from the 60s, the hippie movement, but it started to kind of be cool like 15 years ago maybe. People like Joe Rogan made it really hip thing, but it kind of come up sneakily like government, the big daddy. The government don't want you to do these things. These are illegal, bad things. But then, suddenly, it started to kind of become legal here with some doctors. You get a paper from a doctor, you can get it now legally. And they don't censorship any of that psychedelic stuff, but they censor some other things like, well, I'm not gonna say that one. The 6 million thing. And like some meaningless stuff like flat earth or something, they censor that shit out. But psychedelics, nobody censors that shit. They're pushing that shit. Why is that? Why don't they teach us like any critical thinking skills? How actually handle this amazing brain of ours, our mental in school? Like pretty much all of it is based on memory, not on your thinking skills. Critical thinking. Man, that John D. Rockefeller guy, just such a philanthropist for education. Really did fantastic work with that. I don't want nation of thinkers, I want nation of workers. He manifested that shit. Why don't we learn like any of the real stuff? And why don't we learn critical thinking, how to actually use this brain? At school we just memorize shit, and it is bunch of shit, most of it. Why is most of the music, most of the entertainment, donkey doll? That's not a phrase. Anyways, like, why is like, it has gotten so much worse, but it has kind of been pretty bad. It was more subtle in the 90s and early 2000s, but it has gotten so obviously like dull, boring, like the agendas are just right in your face, pretty much. The stories don't have any character anymore, they are not interesting, inspiring. Most of the music is like, I'm a big hip hop guy, but most of the hip hop, if not like 95, even the good guys, the Kendrick Lamars and stuff, this comes from a Kendrick Lamar listener. I listen to that guy a lot, but even him, like, if you really start to analyze what he is pushing, that's the more subtle level mind control. If it is that, I'm open to not being it. But most of the like hip hop, the pop, the agendas, what they're pushing, it's so obvious, dulling your mind, your mentality. Why is that? The Walking Dead are among us, and they are many. Like, how many actual conversations are people having when they come up with own ideas? Like, even I'm just like good amount of time parroting other people's ideas, and it is hard because that's what the social media does. How many actual conversations where people are being themselves, coming up with ideas themselves and not just parroting different things they heard here or there. And obviously it's been like this for centuries with the newspapers and television. But now it's just going to a whole nother level. It feels like every video on this platform is the same. If you like watch most of the stuff, like the 95% of the stuff is just same talking points. Why is the critical thinking, like actually thinking, coming up with own ideas, like own thoughts even, what has happened to that? And all these things I talk about, alcohol, psychedelics and other drugs, but the psychedelics and alcohol are the cool ones now. All this social media stuff, all this entertainment, music stuff, all this educational system stuff, they are literally destroying our brains. And that's where the diet also comes. These stuff, like alcohol and psychedelics, they actually destroying your brain cells. The other things are making your brain inactive, dull, in the state of receiving. You're a receiver, you are not a creator. Why do they have to do all these things to control our brains? It's because it kills our brains. That's how they brainwash us. They need all these things coming together to be able to brainwash us to their ways. They have to make us dumb. They have to make our brains not work properly to actually be able to brainwash most of the people. If the brain is dying, it's weak, it's so much easier to control. So it's no wonder nobody's thinking anymore, because they're destroying their brains in multiple different ways. Like literally with the food and the drugs, and then spiritually with all this nonsense you see on the screens. This stuff kills the critical thinking, kills your mentality, your mental mind. You literally have no powers of your own anymore. You're just a puppet, thinking other people's thoughts, saying other people's thoughts, and your actions are other people's actions pretty much. That's how it is. How do we break that? See you on the tomorrow.